There's no wrong way to enjoy video games. For some gamers, having the best PC available is the only way to play. Other gamers may prefer to have the newest console available, whether it's the Xbox One, PS4, or the new Nintendo Switch. However, there are some video game hacks every console gamer should be aware of to make their gaming experience more enjoyable. Here are 10 video game hacks that every console gamer should know. Before we get into these console hacks, be sure to hit the subscribe button and ring that bell to stay up to date with fresh content from the gamer. PS4 Smartphone. When most gamers think of a smartphone in conjunction with gaming, mobile games are typically the first thing to come to mind. Although mobile games are wildly popular with casual gamers, there is a way they can benefit console gamers as well. Most specifically, smartphones can be used in addition to the PlayStation 4 for a variety of purposes. To get the most out of a PS4, players can download the PlayStation app on their smartphone. This app can be paired with their PS4 via the same Wi-Fi network. When both the PlayStation and the PlayStation app are logged in with the same PlayStation network ID, players are then able to utilize their smartphone to make their PlayStation experience a little more user-friendly. With the app, players no longer have to fumble through PlayStation's clumsy keyboard. Players can use the keyboard on their phones to send messages, which is a lot less tedious. Gamers can also browse the PlayStation Store through the app much more easily. In addition, games can also be set to download after purchase through the app. Since the app is free, there's no reason not to try it out. Internal memory. The much-anticipated Nintendo Switch hit markets in 2017, and it's allegedly the fastest-selling console Nintendo has ever put out. For fans of the company, purchasing their next console was a no-brainer. However, one issue gamers are running into is that the internal memory can't be expanded from 35 gigabytes, with only 25.9 gigabytes set aside for games. This means players only have 3 options available when it comes to loading games in order to play them. They can either load the game from the internal memory, an external SD card, or from the game cartridge itself. This, of course, can create problems when it comes to load times. Luckily, the gamers over at Eurogamer found out one way of loading games was just a tad faster than the others. For their load time test, they loaded up Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Loading the Temple of Time took 30.7 seconds when using the internal memory. It took 35.7 seconds when loading from the game cartridge, and it took 34.1 seconds when loaded from the 16 gigabyte external SD. While the load times aren't drastically different, it appears as though loading from the internal memory itself will take slightly less time. Preload games. Without question, the worst part of purchasing a new game, aside from the ridiculous amount of updates and patches which appear semi-frequently, is the download time. Waiting for a highly anticipated game can make even the most patient gamer slightly unnerved. Pre-orders can be even worse when it comes to the waiting game. If a gamer has already paid for a game they want to play, waiting for the game to be released is bad enough, then there's the long wait for the download and installation. For some, it can feel like ages between the pre-order and the release date. With the PS4, however, there is a way to reduce the wait time. Players should make sure their system is set up for automatic downloads, and that they have enough space on their hard disk drive. Players can pre-order their games and then set their PS4 to rest mode. Once it hits midnight on the release day, the game should start downloading automatically. That means gamers can get straight to playing their new title as soon as they wake up. Since the games can be downloaded on their own, players can download while they sleep. No more waiting in line for a physical copy or watching the pesky download bar. Just set it up and go to bed. USB keyboard. Anyone who plays console games knows how difficult it is to navigate the keyboard with the system's controller. It's not impossible, but it can be pretty frustrating. Not to mention incredibly slow and clunky. No one likes to spend their time fixing typos when they're trying to type. The Nintendo Switch is relatively new and players are already discovering new ways to utilize the system in order to maximize their gameplay. Currently, the system itself is somewhat limited, but in time the potential for Nintendo Switch hacks can definitely grow. That's not to say the Switch is a broken system. It's simply new, and players are eager to push the system to its limits in order to see how well it performs. Players who are frustrated with the keyboard options on the Nintendo Switch can attempt this simple hack. Instead of messing around with the often unwieldy controller, gamers can instead use the USB port located on the Switch dock to plug in a USB keyboard. Admittedly, the USB keyboard option is pretty limited since it only appears to apply to login information currently. However, this doesn't mean new uses for the USB port on the Nintendo Switch dock won't be available in the future. Saved games. Avid gamers must admit the video game industry has changed a lot between the release of the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One. Most notably, needing an actual physical copy of a game is definitely a thing of the past. Along with digital downloads comes a whole slew of additional issues, such as how to share gameplay with another player. If a player wanted to share their saved game and play it at a friend's house, they would have had to copy their game to a memory stick or manually upload it to the cloud. Both of these options take time, and if a player simply forgot to upload a game to the cloud beforehand, they were out of luck. Basically, sharing a game with a friend was a time-consuming activity which most players would prefer to avoid. With the Xbox One, taking a saved game to another location is much easier. Thankfully, every game is already automatically backed up to the cloud if the Xbox One is connected to Xbox Live. Gone are the days of forgetting to back up a save file and losing the potential to pick up where a player left off if they decide to play somewhere other than their own home. Dark mode. There's truly something exciting about unboxing a new console and turning the power on for the first time. The feel of a new controller and the smooth graphics of a new game is enough to keep gamers buying the most up-to-date consoles as soon as they're released on the market. Sometimes the factory settings are a bit much, however, and gamers must customize their systems to their liking. Whether it's for ease of use or for the sheer appearance of it, players often find new ways to make their system reflect their personality and preferences. With the Nintendo Switch, some users were less than impressed with the bright appearance of the Switch menu screen. Originally set to white, the menu screen can be a bit on the bright side, but luckily players can change the appearance of their menu screen. In the system settings, users can go to themes and change the white background to black. In addition, players can also change the overall brightness of their screen by holding the home button. An options menu will appear and players can change their screen brightness or even put their Switch in sleep mode. Change the soundtrack. Video game soundtracks can be hit or miss. Not every soundtrack can be as intense or amazing as the Final Fantasy soundtrack or the Overwatch soundtrack, depending on what a player's preferences are. Sometimes gamers don't want to listen to a radio DJ or parody commercials while they cruise the streets of GTA. Given how many hours some players will spend in a game, perhaps they don't want to listen to the same 5 songs on repeat for hours at a time. Instead, some players would opt to sit in silence or blast their own music over their sound system or smartphone. Those options, while sufficient, are less than ideal. Players then have to control 2 different systems, the PS4 and their audio system, which can become tiring. Fortunately, one of the apps available on the PS4 can solve this problem. If players want to listen to their own music rather than the in-game soundtrack, they can simply turn down the volume of the in-game soundtrack before utilizing Spotify to replace the game's music with their own. Better yet, if a gamer has Spotify on their smartphone, they can just set their PS4 as a streaming device. Home Xbox. With the Xbox One, players can easily enjoy playing their saved games basically any place where they have access to an Xbox One. The cloud and automatic save settings makes the process of backing up games pretty much foolproof. In order to maximize sharing potential, players can set their Xbox One profile so their system is the home Xbox. To do so, players must sign into their new console for the first time, and that console becomes their home Xbox. If a player has already signed into another Xbox One, they can check the settings in order to ensure their system is selected as the home system. Setting a console as the home system allows players to share their game library with any other users signed into their console, including games downloaded as part of a subscription. A player's Xbox Gold membership can also be shared with anyone who signs into a player's home console as well. When other gamers are linked to this home console, they get the benefit of being able to access that player's entire digital library of games. In addition, if players have young gamers at home, they can ensure little Johnny isn't running amok in Grand Theft Auto 5 by setting restrictions on the account and utilizing the Add to Family option. Battery pack. Early purchasers of the Nintendo Switch are not only the first people to play on the console, they're also the first people who will learn the downfalls of the system before everyone else does. As with any console, there are bound to be issues, and over time, most companies will rectify this situation by revamping the system or adding new additions to the existing system. With the Nintendo Switch, users are finding the controller itself to be less than satisfactory. In most cases, gamers will spend countless hours playing a new game, and that time seems to double when they're presented with a new system. In the case of the Nintendo Switch, the battery life on the controller itself is quickly becoming an issue. Players are finding out the battery life is not as long as they'd like it to be. Some players didn't idly sit back and let this issue get the best of them. Instead, they've come up with a way to extend the battery life along with playing time. Let's face the facts, 3 to 6 estimated hours is simply not enough playtime. Using the USB Type-C port on the bottom of the Switch, players can connect to a battery pack and extend their time between charges. The best part of this is almost any battery pack will do so. As long as you have a USB-A to USB-C cable, you'll be fine. Speed up installation. While plenty of gamers are more than content with their Xbox One purchase, some owners have recently become annoyed with the new mandatory install on their system's hard drive. Even gamers who own a physical copy of a game have to wait for the game to install on their hard drive before playing. For most gamers, waiting for downloads and installs is one of the most grueling parts of gaming. At least when a player is in-game, they're actually playing said game, instead of waiting for the dreaded install. As everyone knows, downloads and installs can feel like they take forever, and sometimes they actually do. Most players would do anything to speed the process up. Luckily, some clever gamers who were fed up with the mandatory hard drive install found a way to shave some time off the ridiculous install time. All a player has to do is disconnect from Xbox Live either through the network settings or simply removing the Ethernet cable from the console. This should improve the installation time, and once a player's finished, they just have to reconnect to Xbox Live and they'll be playing their game in no time. Do you know of any hacks we may have missed? Have you tried any of these video game hacks? Let us know in the comments, and as always, don't forget to check out our playlist. Thanks for watching.